The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Into the Pit or the Vibes Broadcast Network. This show is intended for mature audiences. Please welcome your host, Coyote Knight.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my channel. Please like and subscribe. And also just wanted to let you know about this particular video that I just made. The interview was done some time ago and it was just audio. I thought, hey, why not put it to video and share it with everybody? And unfortunately, part of the audio was kind of messed up, so I had to edit it out. So it kind of starts a little bit, I don't know, quarter of the way into it, but I hope you enjoy it anyway. Carolyn is very awesome, and you've probably seen her on Ancient Aliens, these kind of shows, and she's just an awesome person. So please enjoy. Thank you.
So how old were you when all that started to happen?
5.
5.
The first, yeah, I think most children have experiences, and a lot of them actually even earlier than 5. You know how people know that children sometimes have invisible friends. They're not imaginary. I mean, they're real. They just don't know what to make of it, so they say imaginary friends, but it's actually very common for kids to see beyond what normal humans can see.
Mm-hmm.
But at the age of 5, it was a very, very strong, clear experience. That's the reason why I say, I usually talk about that experience as the beginning of it all.
Well, whenever I was little, I remember staying at my grandparents' house, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was probably around 5 years old, and I noticed something standing in the doorway of the room that I was in, and to me it looked like a suit of armor. I don't know how else to explain it, but I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks on me or I was actually seeing something.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens is we have an experience and then we dismiss it because we think, hey, wait a minute, did I just make this up? And also, of course, you're embarrassed or you're afraid to talk about it because your parents or, your brothers and sisters or whatever, they'll say, there's nothing there, you're weird, so you kind of like don't talk about it usually. And that's why with time, most people kind of shut down and stop these experiences from happening spontaneously, especially when they become older. So I'm pretty sure you had an experience.
Well, like you say, you're a little nervous to tell anybody because, number one, you're not sure yourself. And number two, like you said, you think somebody's going to think, uh-oh, this person needs to be locked away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, for me, the thought of having an extraterrestrial here is so intriguing, and I keep telling my wife, I said, as soon as they come back, I'm leaving with them. So
definitely. No, you're not the only one. I'm telling you. There gotta be. They are here, by the way. So except that they're not. I mean, they're here on many levels in different ways. So some of them are on the other side of the veil. What I mean by that is, they exist in a different spectrum. So we can't see them with our physical eyes or hear them, but they're, people call it another dimensional reality. So, but they can just lower their vibration and become visible to us and then go back again. So, they're right on the other side of the veil. So there's those. And there are others who are incarnated. I mean, they look physical, they're walking amongst us, I think. And some of them know who they are, and others are kind of opening up to who they really are. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. Well, I saw something on this theory about atoms and the different frequency that they run on. And, if they've somehow figured out to manipulate that, I don't see how that would be impossible to walk around invisible.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I mean, even humans have some technology to make things invisible to the naked eye. So you can imagine that aliens who are a lot more advanced would have a much better technology. So definitely. In fact, I've seen that myself, and other people that I've worked with, I know have had similar experiences. So I know for a fact that's how it works. And some of them come in a vehicle, like in a spaceship type thing. But they can't exist within this atmosphere for very long. So they kind of pop in and pop out again. And I think their technology, again, humans want to explain everything from the human point of view. Like if they think that the stars are so far away that it will take how many hundreds of years, thousands of years for a visitor from another planet to get here, because they think that they have this propulsion technology, like they're using the same technology as we are, and of course not. It's like they're way, way, way past that. So it doesn't even make sense.
If they're manipulating the way their atoms move, then it would make sense that they'd be able to travel on a light or some kind of sound frequency or something.
Absolutely. And also they know, space is not linear. It's not like they're, moving through space in one straight line, like from here to the moon in one straight line. There are points within time space that are, you have to think of space as like a hologram. It's like there are points within this big hologram that you can get from point A to point B instantaneously without going through cutting straight across, if that makes sense. It's a completely different technology. And like you said, if they can manipulate the time-space continuum, then they can appear and disappear at any point within that time space. So yeah, people who are hearing this kind of stuff from the classic science point of view think it's completely doesn't make any sense. But if you think of it from a completely different scientific perspective, that it's not a linear classical science point of view, it will make a lot of sense. But even as a logical thing, so there's millions and billions of stars in the universe. So however that whole thing came about, whether it's a creator or a mind or whatever that is, it would be kind of strange to think that within this huge space and millions and the billions of stars, there would be one intelligent life, just one. It's like, what? doesn't even make sense. Well, whoever created humans and said, that's it, this species is so perfect, I'm done here.
Well, it would be who are we to say that, oh, we're so great, we're the only ones in this universe,
Yeah, exactly. It's not even logical. It's so.
Well, and I don't believe it's just a random thing that happens. There's got to be a plan behind it. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Of course there's a plan, because you can see some sort of divine intelligence as you look at nature itself. There is a coherence in the design of the material world, even in plant life, even on a cellular, even your physical body has an intelligence and a geometry and a mechanism that tells you there's an intelligent design behind it. And you see that in plant life, you see that in animal life, and of course in the cosmos. So whatever that divine intelligence is, or however it works, the fact that it is so organized on so many levels, just the way your physical body operates. To think that that intelligent design on a universal scale could come up with only one species, is ridiculous. I mean, it's like, so I definitely agree with you. There's a bigger picture and a bigger understanding.
Well, I heard a theory, and it was brought up by a few mediums, and they had mentioned the fact that we are on a certain wavelength from, day one, and from this life to the next, you are on a different frequency. And in order to, how do I explain it? The best way is like a step. Once you get to what we consider to be heaven, that you achieve to get to that next frequency, to move up, to move up, to move up. And then there's some that are just kind of destined to be at that low level. And I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, like I said, because of my work on myself, the way I see, how consciousness works and how it expands, and also working, like I said, with so many people, it's definitely a question of expanding consciousness to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And I don't know if some are destined to stay at a lower level. I think everybody has the potential to, get to whatever highest level is possible and then continue to move forward, because it's exponential. I mean, it's infinite. But certainly some people have chosen a harder way. It's like, I mean, and they're making it so hard on themselves and everybody else around them that they seem to be stuck. And stuck in the sense that they don't even want to know about anything else. And that's the reason why they stay stuck at this lower level, because they don't want to hear about any other potential options. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is it. We come from bacteria, and that's all there is to it. And I'm just going to, take advantage of all of this and wither and die. It's like, so.
So, with us talking about the frequency of changing their atoms and things like that to certain frequencies, do you think that would give them the ability to take the appearance of one of us?
Yeah. So you're talking about something different. Different things can happen when you have an alien being, an extraterrestrial that is advanced enough. They can materialize in different ways. So sometimes it's not so much that it's a cellular kind of, there's cellular energy that is breaking down or slowing down to appear as a form, but sometimes they can project on your consciousness the image that you want to see. So you think you are seeing an angel or whatever, or like a hot woman or something. You know what I mean? Like they project into your consciousness the image that would be comfortable for you, that you would open up and say, hey, yeah, like I'm very open and let's have a conversation or whatever. So that's a kind of a holographic image projection. It's one way. Another way, it's that they actually slow down their vibration and can in fact materialize, or at least be half material, so that you can perceive them, you can see them definitely as a shape, as a form. And but they're mostly light, so it's like organized form made of mostly light with some features, so you kind of make out what they are, what they look like. In this case, they're usually their true self, because they're not projecting on your brain an image that you want to see. It's more, this is who they really are. So there's two different ways of, manipulating their energy to appear to you as a human.
Well, you would assume that they're using a higher level of their brain than we do. I mean, what we use 10% of our brain, and they're probably using a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's not so much the brain. It's because some of them, it's not like they have a physical brain like we do. It's more their consciousness. So it's like their consciousness is the brain behind the entire body, and so the consciousness would intend, okay, I want to become visible to Kyle, let's say, of course, from the other side, and their consciousness as a whole knows how to manipulate their whole system and slow down their vibration and suddenly take on a form. So it's not like a linear kind of just one part of the brain that sets an intent and analyzes what that means and blah, blah, blah. It's just like a one whole. It's a completely different way of existing and materializing. So yeah, it's like definitely a much higher technology and more advanced for sure.
And if you're like me, I grew up, watching Star Wars movies. I think I was 7 when the first one came out, and watched Star Trek on television, and we saw things on there. We're like, man, that would be so cool to have. We never thought we would. I mean, like the communicators and things like that. And now we're starting to see that technology. Do you think that is from them, or it's just the human intuition to get out there and try?
Well, I definitely think that there is interaction on like in the ethers. In other words, on the other side of the veil, let's call it that. Imagine that around the planet is a massive web. Okay, you don't see it with the naked eye, but it's like a matrix. It's like a unified field, and everybody's inside that field, right? Because we're all on the earth. So all our thoughts, all our emotions, everything we do is kind of part of this matrix. It's this hub, if you will. That's the reason why, or some people call it the collective consciousness. So it's the consciousness of everybody at the same time. And so that's the reason why sometimes you have a person who has an idea in India and another person who has the exact same idea in like the UK. And so how does that work? Because everybody is plugged into that same field, this unified field. And so we're all kind of receiving intuition, inspiration from each other in a weird way, because we're all collaborating to it. Every time you think, you kind of put in your information in there, and everybody else's information is there too, And so this unified field is because we're all plugged into it, our brains, basically, our mind. So advanced beings or aliens or extraterrestrial can come in and also participate, like put in new thoughts, new ideas, new information into this collective consciousness, so that if you are aspiring to receive information about, you want to have some cool technology of the future, they can give you that information simply by putting it in the collective consciousness, and your mind is already tapped into it. So you think you're getting an inspiration, which you are, but it's actually other people's thoughts that have collaborated, if you will, and that comes a lot. Like the more advanced and futuristic thing come from extraterrestrials, just because they're more advanced. Does that make sense?
Oh yes. Well, that's kind of been my thought, is that it all is part of a collective consciousness, and that's how we advance, like say, from this life to the next one. Now you're familiar with The Secret, right? The book.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I've been a true believer in that, affirmations, manifesting things that you really want in this life. That's bound to be a part of it, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm sure, I don't know, they only talk about the law of attraction. Like you think about something positive that you want to manifest, and you attract its match. That's pretty much what The Secret is. But it's a little bit more than that, actually. It's a lot more than that. But but that's a good start. There's something also called, entanglement. I mean, this is scientifically proven phenomenon that particles of, can be very, very far away from each other. Even two stars in the sky could be far away and yet exchange properties at a distance, meaning the property of one physical object becomes part or transfers to the other physical object, even though they're very far away from each other physically. They're separated physically. So the idea is if actual physical matter can exchange property at a distance, why is it so crazy to think that our thoughts can also be? This means that what I want to say is that means that if they can be exchanged at a distance without any apparent reason, it is probably because there's this unified field that holds it all together. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, this matrix, that connects everything together. So why is it so crazy to think that, when we have thoughts, we're all connected through that same unified field and we're exchanging property, we're exchanging information, even though we're very far away. And in fact, this explains a lot. This explains telepathy. This explains intuition. Like let's say, I don't know if you have kids, but like if you, so all of a sudden your wife or yourself, like you have this feeling that something happened to, your kid or your mom or your dad, you know what I mean? Even though they're not close to you. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Or you think of someone and the phone rings and here they are. So, I mean, this is not like woo stuff. But, the fact that science doesn't know how to explain it doesn't mean it's woo. It just means that it doesn't know how to explain it yet, And so I think that, from the law of attraction to even the concept of everything is part of the same field, unified field, larger universal consciousness, and everything is entangled, brings a lot of, it explains a lot of the phenomenon that we think are paranormal, And in fact, go ahead. I'm going on and on.
Oh, no. Talk all you want to. One thing I was going to mention, because you're talking about that, and I've suffered from PTSD and anxiety, and I've dealt with depression for a good part of my life, and my wife and I can be miles and miles apart, and if I'm having an episode, she picks up on it, and she will call me and say, first thing out of her mouth is, "What's wrong?" I'm like, how the heck do you know that?
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God. Well, I want to say two things. I'm so glad you shared this, Kyle. Well, first of all, this exactly is an example of what I just talked about. It is because, well, first of all, also because you're married, you already have a stronger energetic connection. But this communication, this feeling that something's going on, is your thought is part of this unified field, and she picks up on it because you guys are so connected, even though she's far away. This is because of the entanglement phenomenon. But I also want to mention something, and in fact, I'm going to be doing a new podcast, and this is one of the topics that I definitely want to talk about that people just don't realize. PTSD, but also just this kind of generalized weird anxiety. You know how like all of a sudden everything seems to be fine, and all of a sudden one day you wake up and you just have this weird anxiety going on and you can't shake it off. Most of the time it is the collective consciousness. I usually have those very, very weird feelings before an earthquake happens, or something that happens, again, on the other side of the planet. It doesn't concern me like, in a physical sense, because it's very far. And yet I feel, in fact, yesterday, my whole body was shaking and I was like, there's a huge earthquake. And it was Cuba.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah. And so So all of these, especially depression and anxiety, have a lot to do with the collective consciousness. So of course, in your case, you talk about PTSD. You've been in a war somewhere, or
No,
something else?
I had something really tragic happen to me when I was a child.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, in this case, it's a specific trauma, which, by the way, you can work on and reverse and be free from it. I can talk to you about that at some point if you like.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, like, even without a trauma, you are still tapped into this unified field and feeling stuff that is not even yours. So.
Yeah, that happens to my wife all the time. She'll be in a room and people will have certain emotions going on, and she will feel it, and she has to say, "Okay, this is not mine. I don't want it."
Yeah, exactly. So she sounds like she's very sensitive, but guess what? A lot of people are sensitive and they feel stuff and they have no idea what's going on. Because there's no reason, like, things are fine, and all of a sudden you just have this huge amount of sadness and depression. You can't shake it off. And so, if people begin to realize and understand that this could be coming from the collective consciousness and learn to discern, okay, well, what is it? Like, for example, for me, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. So when something like this happens, I can discern, okay, that's not me, but what is it? And who is it? And why? And things like that. So I can quickly, eventually discern, okay, that's an earthquake and it's in this part of the planet. I don't expect everybody to be doing that, but at least if you are able to discern that that's not yours, just right there, you start to feel better, because it's like, wait, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just overly sensitive and I'm picking up on something else that's beyond me.
Well,
because when you feel this way, you think something's wrong with you. You're like, why am I so depressed? Yes, the mental health. Now there's this big thing with the mental health thing. When in fact, to me, it's not a mental illness. It's just a state of mind, and we don't know how to manage it. So we're calling, this depression and anxiety and suicide and stuff and mental illness, which is fine. At least we're bringing attention to it. But I'm just saying, it's a lot of it has to do with this collective consciousness.
So with animals, do you think they have that same ability as well?
Oh my God, 100%. 100%. I actually can hear my dog, and I can hear her thoughts. And sometimes, like, she's just so sad or weird or acting strange or what have you. And sometimes I would look at her and I would see that she's feeling things that have to do with the earth. Or that is happening with the earth or humanity, or, nothing to do with, like, she doesn't like her food today,
Well, the reason why I say that, and I really believe in service animals, because my wife and I had went to the pound. I lost one of my cats that I'd had for over 10 years, and she's like, you need to get that love back out there again. And so we went to the pound, and I was drawn to this one cat. And she, they have a little room you can go in, and you get to kind of know them, and she automatically jumped in my lap and was rubbing all over me. And every time that I'm feeling that depression or anxiety, she comes running and jumps in my lap.
Oh, don't you love that?
Oh, I do. She's been a big help in me trying to deal with all this. I mean, yes, I take medications and things, but that seems to be the most smoothing thing, when you just sit there and you've got an animal that's loving you right back, and all they want is your love.
Yeah. I remember one time I was doing a small group. It was like an advanced healers group. It was only like 20 people or something in the group. And then so when one person would be talking about something that they were struggling with, my dog would go and sit on their feet.
Oh, wow.
It was so interesting. Like, she would put her belly, right on their feet. And the person would just kind of like all of a sudden like just dissolve, like they would cry, release something. It was so cool. And then another person would talk and my dog would just go and sit on. It was so incredible. So yeah, I mean, there's this incredible connection with animals. I'm so glad you found yours.
Oh yeah.
But I'd be happy to talk to you about your experience maybe some other time. But probably, I don't know what kind of medication you take, but that's the reason why I'm sharing all this information and, trying to help as many people as possible because, once you start with medication, sometimes you're also training the brain to, get used to the medication to make you feel better. So you also, you don't want that eventually. So I'm hoping that by you doing all this work and exploring more option and understanding, you can also eventually kind of do something that will free you completely from your experience and your trauma.
Well, I've always kind of strived for enlightenment. And along that line, I eventually want to get off these medications because I think it has hindered certain abilities that I feel like I have. It does screw up the chemical, that balance that you have in your brain, and it just I get so used to the medications that okay, let's say for instance, I mean I've lived with insomnia for the last 13 14 years or so, and I started out, they gave me Ambien. Well, I had no idea what Ambien was. I just took it, and then all of a sudden I feel like I'm having an acid trip or something.
Wow.
But then I got used to it, so they switched me to something else, and then they switched me to something else. Now I'm on the most powerful drug that you can take to help you sleep, and even that doesn't work sometimes. So
yeah,
I want to get back to that natural state. I don't know how long that will take, but I would love to get back there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad you're sharing this and this is a perfect example that is telling you that this is not a chemical problem. You cure chemistry with chemistry. So, the drug is chemical. So you're changing the chemistry of your brain with another chemical. What is really happening is energetic, or, there's of course psychological. It's mental and energetic. So if you don't address that, the problem is going to remain. You know what I mean? You can change all the different brands, all the different, it's not going to work because you're only addressing the chemistry. You're not addressing the root cause. And so that's the reason why this is where you have to do an energetic session, a regression session. I'm happy to help you with that.
Oh, yes.
And just to, when you go back to the root cause, when you started to have those experiences and change what triggered that the first time, changes, like you reprogram the pattern that started, you change that whole pattern, then the pattern disappears, and without any drugs, because it's not a chemical problem. Now, some people have a chemical problem. That's a different story, but that's not your case. And the fact that you have been, changing drugs one after the other and it's not working tells you that it's not a chemical problem. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely.
so that's the reason why I think it would really be helpful if you did a session where, like I said, try to identify the root cause. I'm seeing stuff when you were younger. I want to say 7 years old. And also, I don't know, like some of this stuff is unconscious. Like there's a lot of people who had an experience and they don't know exactly what happened. They just know that something happened. And sometimes when we do the regression, like they start to remember. So, but I think you had an out-of-body experience, it's almost like you died and came back.
I actually did.
Yeah. So, and that's the reason. So you are conscious. That's good. And so, and I feel like when you died, like you didn't want to come back. And so there's like this whole dynamic that happened there that needs, because when you were out of body, you could see very clearly like all the problems with the earth and things like that. And so it's almost like you almost chose not to come back. And so, so that is, to me, that is the biggest gap in your consciousness, which would be a trauma from my perspective, that needs to be healed. Because you kind of said, I'm not doing this. This is not the life that I want or whatever. And that created a bunch of patterns and this resistance to be in this physical body at this time. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, well, the way I looked at it was I felt that it was a form of astral projection. And I actually saw myself leaving my body, going over the roof of my house, the trees up in the sky, found myself actually in space itself. And it was almost like there was a tether attached to my foot. And when I got to that point where I felt like, uh-oh, I'm not coming back, it's like it yanked on me, and boom, here I am. I come in, and everything is going in reverse, but a lot faster. And then I felt like I actually hit the bed, and then I woke up, and I mean, my heart's going 90 to nothing. And you know, I've kind of longed to have that experience again. I had something similar to that where I ended up leaving my home, and I went into somebody else's home. I walked around. I got to see them sitting there watching television, and I got to know the whole house. And I just, you know, I took that at the time as, oh, it's just a real vivid dream. But the funny thing is I used to be an exterminator, and I went to these people's house to exterminate, and it was the house that I actually visited, and I'd never been there before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Blows your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's pretty much what I said. You're out of body, you know, and you saw everything. And so, and coming back to me is the trauma, because usually people, you know, obviously, as you know, you're born, you know, and then you just have this life, and you don't kind of escape the body and come back. You know, I mean, of course, there's near-death experiences, there's out-of-body experiences, astral projections, whatever you want to call it. But the average person doesn't do that. You know, you're just here and that's that, you know. And so when you do have these experiences, they're life-changing. They are traumatic, because it's almost like you see like night and day, you know, what it's like to be on the other side and what it's like to be in the body. And it's such a huge contrast that your life changes completely when you do it this way. That's why most people aren't conscious, or they block it off because they can't deal with it. But you are very, very sensitive. And so I feel like this experience should be beneficial to you. But right now it's still kind of like in this, you're like in between two worlds. You're like, do I want to be here? Do I want to be there? I don't know what's going on. How do the two work, you know, together? So I think that's the trauma that needs to change, the dynamic that needs to change.
Well,
yeah.
I have been told that I'm not of this world.
Absolutely. I mean, who is, in a way? But yeah, you're. So that's what I was saying earlier. I think you had this experience for you to learn and understand what really happened, how it happened, and what you're supposed to do with it. So I feel like the fact that we're coming together doing this radio show is more about you know, what's next on your journey than, you know, you know, so.
Well, I don't feel like anything is a coincidence. Everything's supposed to happen for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the reason why I think once you go deeper into this, you'll know how you're going to be able to help other people exactly with that. Now I'm kind of fast forwarding on your trajectory. I feel like you're gonna, I mean, I don't know, have you explored doing any sort of energy healing or anything like that?
Actually, yes. We use crystals and aromatherapy, even meditation. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think you're going to be able to facilitate experiences for other people and help them a lot. But first, you have to understand more about what happened to you and resolve your issue. Does that make sense? So that you know how it would work for other people. And so I can recommend some things. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've always kind of had that desire to help other people. I'm more apt to help others than I am myself.
And is your wife also doing that? Because I see you both. Like, I see both of you doing that.
Well, she's an empath, and she is working on her mediumship right now. She's kind of always had that ability, but she's trying to hone more in on it now.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to send you some suggestions and some things. And if you want, we could do a deeper session at one point.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. But I feel like that's what is really your calling. I mean, down the road. So I'm not saying you should stop doing podcasts, but it's more like, you're healing people is really awesome. You're very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we can talk more about that. I'll send you some links as well. Yeah, that's awesome. So whereabouts are you? Are you guys in Texas or?
Yes, we are just north of Austin.
Oh, okay. I went to school there.
Did you? Where'd you go?
Yeah. UT.
You went to UT? Longhorns, baby. Longhorns.
I know. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll send you some links just for you to see what you'd like to explore to expand your ability as a healer, and then to reverse that trauma. I think we need a real session.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's step back a little bit. And, I was talking about the technology and things we saw in Star Trek and Star Wars. And I know if you watch Star Trek, they have those hologram decks. You think that's going to be something that we see in our near future?
What do you mean? See, like where? Like a spaceship? What do you mean?
Or, whenever they want to do a program where they go back to, the 1930s or whatever, and they go on the holodeck and they're wearing the gear of the day and they're experiencing those kind of things from that day. Are we going to have that kind of technology?
I think so, but I think the Earth has to go through a lot of things before those types of things start to happen, because as you see already, there's some very interesting technology, but it's being used for the wrong thing. And so I think a lot of the technology is coming, but the Earth itself, it's almost like at this point, we have to get rid of the bad weeds. It's like there's no way around it. Like the Earth has to heal in such a profound way before those types of technologies start to be accessible, because there's still, the level of consciousness of humanity is still very low. And so, if you introduce certain things at the wrong time, they can still be used for the wrong purpose. So that's my take on it.
Well, when you talk about the right time, this brings up another question. Do you think that, like shows like Ancient Aliens and, Project Blue Book and The Unexplained, all these things, are they in a way preparing us for the coming of aliens and actually being able to accept it, unlike what it was back in the Orson Welles days?
Yeah, for sure. At least they're introducing all these concepts and ideas in a very kind of user friendly, if you will, like acceptable way, because it's still supposed to be entertainment or television or whatever, or sci-fi. But I didn't have a chance to talk about it, but my film, the recent one that I just finished, that's about to be released actually next month, Superhuman. It's called Superhuman: The Invisible Made Visible. Basically, it's focused on the ability of the mind to control matter. And I'm not talking about like, just like making things levitate just because, I'm talking about increasing the potential of your mind to the point of, just focusing on body and just healing yourself, just like that. Mm-hmm. Or, training your mind to change the chemistry of your body and things like that. And so what I've done in the film is we use a lot of scientific experiments and scientific demonstrations how consciousness is boundless and it can control matter. So there's all these scientific experiments that are in the film. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because we're also teaching all of these techniques now, at workshops and online things. It's called Superhuman Workshops, for people to begin to train, to really, really, really train the mind to do all of these things, bilocate and remote viewing and precognition and telekinesis and seeing with the blindfolds on, so your consciousness goes beyond your body. So I feel like this is what's relevant today is not just like, hey, other worlds exist and aliens exist. At this point, we need to start training ourselves and just accepting the fact that our mind can control matter. And these are all the tools, to begin doing it. So that's kind of what I feel I'm trying to contribute at this point.
I'm looking forward to that. Actually, your assistant messaged me about you having that movie coming out soon, and I would love to have you back on to talk more about it at another date if that would be possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people can, you can go to the website and read a lot of what's going on and what we're doing and the workshops, but also the film itself, and see at least the trailer and some clips, superhumanfilm.com. There's all that stuff on there. And so, yeah, we can keep chatting, Kyle. No worries.
That would be great. Do you think that we're at a point where we'd be more accepting that aliens are here?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like at this point we should stop saying, are they here? I think I saw something in the sky. That's what I'm saying. I think we need to change our vocabulary and just say, I saw this. I know this is real. And not so much worry about, look at the world around us. It's such a chaos. Like, nobody knows anything. Everybody's feeding you all kinds of, it's like, come on. It's like, mm-hmm. And then there's like fake news here and fake news there. Like, nobody knows what the real truth is. So we need to begin to say that I know for a fact that aliens are here. I know for a fact that my experience was real. I know for a fact I just need to kind of pretend or not worry about anybody else and just go for it. That's what I'm saying. That's the turn that we need to be making at this point. Instead of questioning, just say, this is the way it is. This is my truth. This is many people's truth. Let's move on.
And that was another question was, are they here and are they actually working with our government?
Yeah, many people ask me that question. So, of course, some of them are here working with the government and have a weird agenda, which is to continue the control and the confusion and things like that. But then there's also many others who are also here, like I said, either helping working from the other side of the veil, like implanting stuff in the collective consciousness and in, different people's field. And they're here to help. So, they're both agendas, at least two agendas, if not more. But just like look around. I mean, there's humans doing weird stuff and there's humans doing great stuff. And there's people, so it's the same thing with aliens. Like, we can't think that they're all trying to get rid of us and take over the earth. If that's what they want, that should have happened a long time ago, because we have the technologies. Like, they're not asking our permission. It's like, if they want to bomb the whole planet, it would have been done. It would be done by now. So the reason why that's not happening is because there's another side. There are other beings who don't want that to happen. You see?
Right. Well, you think of how far we've come technology-wise in the last, 70, 80 years. You go from the 40s, and all of a sudden everything's just moving so fast. At 69, we were on the moon, And, we wake up one day and Mom's down at the store buying a new microwave. And, we've got actual communication devices in our hand, and we have a computer in our hand. I would have never fathomed that as a child, and here it is.
Yeah, exactly. And all of this advancement also has to do with this kind of infiltration of higher consciousness or advanced technology through the collective consciousness. They don't have to show up in a human body and go to work to GE or whatever, or, and start doing things in a physical sense. They can just pour that idea into your brain all of a sudden. Oh, this scientist came up with this, or this guy came up with that. But, where did he get that idea from?
They're working at the post office in the DMV now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Anyway, yeah.
Man, this hour has flown by. How does everybody find you on social media, and can you give us that website for your film?
Yeah, so the film is superhumanfilm.com. And the work that has to do, and of course all the social media is on that page that has to do with the film and the workshops and things like that. And the people who are interested in healing and consciousness, they can go to my other website, which is carolinecory.com. And all the social media pages are on there as well. I also have a lot of free stuff on that website, so if people want to explore.
Oh, I love free stuff. And are you going to be on this season quite a bit on Ancient Aliens?
Yeah, I still have quite a few episodes that we shot that haven't aired yet. So, but sometimes they change the date. That's why I usually don't I don't announce them on my Facebook page. I kind of see them after the fact. And so, yeah, I'm going to be in quite a few episodes this year for sure.
And have you actually met George Tsoukalos in person?
Yeah, of course. Many times, because we also do Alien Con, which is the conference. That's right. And so we're all there together. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife says that I look like him when I wake up first thing in the morning. Cause
you've got the hair thing going, yeah. Well, you should come out. Well, I mean, I don't know when the next one is going to be, but they've maybe, I don't know what they're doing right now, but we did quite a few Alien Con conferences, and they were very, very successful, and we were all there. I thought that's where I met you when the last one was in Dallas, but I guess not.
No, I didn't get to I wanted to go really bad, and I didn't get to go. I did speak to a gentleman last week that knows Linda Howell. And I'd love to get her on the show sometime. She's a very interesting person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if he can introduce you or whatever, I'm happy to connect you, Yeah, no, Linda's adorable too. We all connect during these events, especially. Sometimes we cross paths, like it depends what we're filming or something. So.
Well, to wind the show down, once again, I'd like to mention about the Bully Busters, and you can go to their website at stompoutbullying.org or call their number at 877-NO-BULLY. That's 877-662-8559, and go buy their merchandise, because the proceeds go to expanding the reach of their resources and also allows them to run their 24-hour helpline. And as far as we are concerned, if you go to Facebook and go to P.I.T.T Paranormal Investigators, I will have the links up for our Instagram and Twitter, and also our little shop, so you can buy our cool little t-shirts and hats and socks and all that cool stuff. And we've got some pretty exciting announcements coming up. I'm not going to divulge that at the moment, but please look for our posts and pass it on so we can get the word out there. And Carolyn, thank you so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for inviting me, Kyle. I'll speak with you soon.
Okay. If you'll just hang on, and I will let everybody go, and I want to talk to you just a minute before we hang up.
Okay. Sure.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and join us again next week. And y'all have a great Tuesday. Bye.
Oh boy.
Thank you for joining us on Into the Pit. Please follow us on Facebook at the Vibes Broadcast Network and Instagram at the Vibes Broadcast.